in this linear equation, we have x here, here, and here. And also, we have 3 pairs of parentheses. Again, our goal is to get x by itself. So if we want to get the letter x by itself, first thing we have to do is to get them out of these parentheses. So you can imagine that parentheses being the boxes, and so we want to get those x's out of the boxes so we can combine them into a single one and then eventually to get x by itself. So that's our strategy. So first, let's get all the x's out of the boxes. And here we can use the distributive property that we talked about before. So in front of each pair of parentheses, there's a parentheses that we have 3, and in this one's 3, we have 6 here, we have 5 there. So we're going to distribute the number to everything in the parentheses. So we're going to do 3 times x and 3 times -2. And then for the second pair of parentheses, we're going to distribute 6 to x and to 1. And for the third pair, we're going to distribute 5 to both x and -2. So after that, we get 3x. 3 times -2 is -6, plus 6x, and 6 times +1 is +6. 5 times x, 5x, and 5 times -4, that gives us -20. So now all the x's are out of the boxes, the parentheses. So now all we have to do, so we're getting closer to our goal, which is to have x by itself. And now we just need to combine all these x's, all the terms with x's. So there's one here, there's one here, and there's one there. Now there is a big difference here between combining 3x, 6x, and 5x. And notice 3x and 6x, they're both on the left-hand side. So imagine if we have a balanced scale on 3x and 6x, they're on the same side. So that means they can just be combined together. But 5x is on the other side. So this 5x, the weight, whatever that is, cannot be combined with the weight on the left-hand side. So first, we are going to combine 3x and 6x. So imagine we have $3 plus $6. That gives us $9. So we only add the quantity 3 and 6, and we keep the variable x. And notice -6 plus 6, they can also be canceled because they are also numbers. They can be considered as like terms. So 6 cancels -6. On the right-hand side, we are just going to leave this here temporarily. And now, notice we have 9x and 5x, one on the left and one on the right. So again, we cannot just add them because they're not on the same side of the scale. What we can do is we can move 5x and we can get rid of 5x. But when we get rid of 5x, we have to, because the sign in front of 5x is plus. Again, it's not between 5 and x. Between 5 and x is multiplication, but the sign in front of the whole term 5x is plus. So we're going to have to do the opposite of plus, which is minus. And whatever we do to the right-hand side, so if we take $5 away from the right-hand side, we also have to take $5 away from the left-hand side in order to keep the scale balanced. So now, $9 minus $5, we have $4. Again, of course, the dollar sign, here we actually have x, but the idea is the same. So we have 4 x's. And on the right-hand side, these two cancel each other, so we bring down -20. So again, 5x minus 5x, anything subtracted is off. So if we have 5 copies of x and you gave away 5 copies of x and you're left with no x's at all, so or you can say nothing. So now we only bring down the -20. So finally, we have a single term with only x in there, so we can get rid of 4 to get x by itself. And this time between 4 and x. So again, we're not trying to get rid of 4x. We because this is the only term with x. So right here we have to get rid of 5x because there are two terms both with x. So we have to get rid of one of them. But now we just need to get rid of 4. And between 4 and x, that's multiplication. So we're going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So now 4 cancels 4 and that will leave us 1x or just the x, because x times 1 is itself. So now we, on the right hand side, a negative divided by positive, that gives minus, and 20 divided by 4, that is 5. So that's the answer. So if we summarize the steps here, so first, if we have parentheses, we have to get rid of them by the distributive principle. And after that, we try to combine all the like terms on one side. On the left hand side, if there's any like terms on the right hand side, we also have to do that. In this case, we didn't have any like terms on the right hand side to combine. After we combine everything on the left hand side, and then if we still have x's on both sides, we can get rid of one of the x's on one of the sides, and by doing the opposite operation. And after that, we should be left with only one term with x, and all we have to do is to get rid of the number in front of it. So now these are the steps, and sometimes there could be other order of doing all these steps, but these are the standard steps, and usually if we follow the order here, and you can avoid some of the redundant steps. So let's look at another example. So we have parentheses. Let's get rid of them. So I'm going to have to distribute a -3 to both of them in the box. And for the second pair, we have a minus sign in front of it. So you can either distribute the minus sign to both of them, or you can think of this as distributing -1. And be very careful here. In front of the third pair of the parentheses, we have a plus sign. So this is all we have to distribute. If you want, you can put a 1, because if there's nothing in front of it, that means 1 copy. So you can distribute +1 to both of them. And this -6 doesn't need to be distributed because it's a plus sign here, so which means they are separated by the plus sign. And remember, when we do distribution, we only distribute when this number multiplied by that, either tripling, doubling, or whatever. So if it's a plus, we cannot distribute this number. So that's why -6 will not be distributed, and we're only gonna distribute the plus sign, or you can put in, the invisible 1 back and distribute that +1. Okay, so after we do that distribution, we have -3 times x, which is -3x. -3 times -2, that's a +6. Two negatives make positive. And then -1 times 5x, that's -5x. And -1 times -1, and that's +1. Again, two negatives make positive. Now, -6 right here, I skipped a step, so I probably should explain here how I got this. And so if we distribute, first we keep the -6, and then we distribute the plus sign. But notice when we distribute plus sign or +1 to both of them, it's not going to change anything, because anything times 1 is itself. So -2x times 1 is still -2x. +3 times +1, it's still going to be +3. So I went ahead and I combined a -6 and +3. But I probably should slow down and write down this step and then combine in the next step. But if you can see this, you could skip a step. So I will just go ahead and leave it as it is. So bring down -6, +1 times -2 gives us -2x. +1 times -2x gives us -2x, and +1 times +3 gives us +3. So in the next step, we're going to focus on all the terms containing x's. So there's 1 here, there's 1 here. On the right hand side, there's 1 here. And on the left hand side, so we're going to try to simplify as much as possible. So -3x minus 5x, they are like terms, so we can combine them. Imagine we have -$3 minus $5. So that's going to be a -6x. negative 8x. Combining two debts, so we get a larger debt, $3 debt and $5 debt. That's $8 debt. And x, imagine it being as a dollar sign. And similarly, notice that 6 and 1, they are also like terms, so we can go ahead and combine them to get 7. On the right-hand side, this is the only x term, so we bring it down. But negative 6 and positive 3, they can be combined. So if we have $6 debt, $3 credit, combine them, we get $3 credit. And now we're going to try to get x by itself again, but since we have x term on the left and on the right, so we first have to get rid of one side. And so we can get rid of either negative 8x or negative 2x. So either way, we have to do the opposite of operation, which is plus. So what I did here, I added 8x to both sides. So I'm going to get rid of minus 8x. So after that, notice that we have then canceled. So 8x minus 8x, they canceled. And then 8x minus 2x, that is 6x. And also notice that we have 7 equals 6x minus 3 now, and we can, and this is the only term that contains x. So first we're going to get rid of minus 3. So again, 6 times x, they are closer together, so we're going to get rid of minus 3. So we add 3 to both sides. 7 plus 3 is 10. And bring down the equal sign, bring down 6x. But these two, they are canceled. So again, we have $3 debt, add $3 credit, they cancel out. So the only thing left in front of x is the number 6. So be very careful. When x turns on the right-hand side, we're not going to get rid of 10. We're still trying to get rid of the number in front of x, which is 6. So we're going to divide both sides by 6 because between 6 and x, that's multiplication. So we do the opposite operation of multiplication, which is division. So again, when we solve equations, we keep reversing every operation we see. So now 6 divided by 6, we get a 1x or just x. The left-hand side, notice it's a fraction. And we can go ahead and divide both the top and the bottom by 2 because 2 can go into both of them. So 10 divided by 2 is 5 and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we're left with a simplified answer.